What's up guys, it's Punchy, and today we got a pretty great Deepwoken update that solves a lot of issues and provides us with some new content to mess around with. Different from last week, this update is actually on Friday, so our schedule is back to normal. Anyway, I'm excited to show you what's up, and let's get started. First off, with a new Thunder Call mantra, we have the new Emotion Wave. This option is fairly high cost, and it's also pretty cool too. We slam the ground with the initial bolt of lightning while releasing giant pillars of light from that radius. You're also able to freely move around once these bolts start pushing out, which might be great for some solid pressure, so this mantra looks and feels crazy. Next up, with a fairly new event, we have the Diver's Supply Rig. So now, this will spawn only in the Airtel Sea with a giant new construction site leading down to the depths. It's honestly very cool to see in the overworld, and I think they did a great job. So, by interacting with this group, they will then ask you to retrieve stolen diver supplies, which can be found at Fort Merit. All you gotta do is pull up and claim that giant box, bring it back to the divers, and be rewarded with an Armorer's Needle relic, which is pretty cool loot. Also, when you're finished, the divers go back down into the depths, which is a really nice touch. Alongside this, we have ourselves a new guild ranking. By checking up top with your guild name, you can click on that and view your rank. By completing dungeons and killing bosses, you'll gain PvE rating, and PvP rating comes through Chime and Grips. Hopefully this will be a fun way to gauge competitive builds and see which one is the best in the current day Deepwoken. Moving forward into the Chime Arena, we have a new map that's pretty sweet. With a similar design to the Maestro Boss Arena, we do have another option to mess around with, and it's a callback to the secret boss. I definitely enjoy this, and I'm glad we have another PvP map with actually good lighting. Down below, in the depths of Layer 1, there is now a new cinematic. Showing up the first time you drown, this cutscene should indicate to new players how to escape through the Depths Cathedral trial. It's definitely a fast introduction to the city they should be escaping, and I think it's a pretty cool way to help out new players. Of course, the point of this was to provide information the first time you drown, and it won't show up after that. For even more player assistance, we can find some new information when viewing the map. Pressing M pops up our map, which was added about a month ago, but now it's easier to mess with. While in this menu, it's now possible to pan and zoom on the map if you do want a closer look. On top of this, active quests will now display on your map for better wayfinding. I mean, who wants to guess where to travel, and now we can just view it on our map, which should be good for new players. Besides this, when slapping down your guild base, that will now display fully on the map, so it's easier to find and see if your allies are chilling inside. Overall, these are nice additions for info, and they should help in team activities. Further upon necessary changes, we finally have a ridiculous buff to all mob drops. Again, I want to specify that this has nothing to do with chests, but the actual items dropping from monsters. Essentially, before this update, monsters were limited to dropping a single item. It could be drip, it could be a monster part, or it could honestly just be a mantra modifier. Anyway, this sole feature made specific talents like Loot Skipper, for example, make farming very polarizing. For instance, if you wanted to get the rarest item from a specific monster, Loot Skipper was great, making the rarest drop easier to get. But if you wanted to get the second rarest drop, obviously not the rarest one, Loot Skipper did not care and made the actual rarest drop easier to find instead. So, regardless, the entire system revolved around monsters dropping a single item. In this update, we are now guaranteed to receive a monster drop, and on top of this, they may drop something else from a different loot table. If a monster drops something common, that is not going to remove the chances of it dropping something cool. Although this doesn't exactly solve the Loot Skipper problem that hijacks your drops, it is a little bit better than before, granting us more chances to get what we want and obviously more loot. Moving on to bell gambling, legendary bells now have a pity system. The rarest endgame option in all of Deepwoken are these bells with an astronomical low roll chance. Anyway, if you go 100 bell rolls, which is crazy, without seeing a legendary, you are guaranteed one on your next pull. This is tracked specifically for your slot, so if you roll 99 times on slot A and 1 time on slot B, that's not how it's gonna work. Anyway, legendary bells should be easier to farm for, and if you wipe that slot, the pity counter doesn't erase. Besides this, with a well-requested Kamui update or dimensional travel, hopefully you won't get stuck in walls any longer. Essentially, while inside of dimensional travel, you should be told that exiting at certain locations is risky, which should prevent getting getting flung and deaths that would normally kill you inside of walls. It's definitely a decent change since more people are gonna be using legendary bells. Moving on with a murmur, we finally have some giant updates to the Tacet Invisible Murmur. With this option, by pressing T inside of a sneak state, we'll gradually enter invisibility, but when we exit, it happens very quickly, breaking us out of stealth. Now, in this update, uncrushing from Tacet for a pretty small period still keeps you out of sight, fully invisible, letting you do anything, but the main point is to engage targets. Besides this, Sprint makes your Tacet dissipate twice as quickly, and M1ing instantly breaks that cloak. Regardless, this is a massive buff to the Tacet's accessibility in combat. Onto some balancing, we have some pretty large changes this week, which I gotta bring up. First up, with some massive nerfs to light daggers, basically we have a huge adjustment coming to their range. There's quite a lot of options being affected, but in summary, most dagger ranges have been cut down from 6.5 to 6.0. The outliers in this situation, which were larger, dropped from 7.0 range to 6.5. Although it isn't a massive nerf, the hitbox reduction of almost all daggers will definitely be apparent in PvP combat. Alongside some great bug fixes coming to all light guns, which I won't be mentioning, gun swing speed is now affected by all modifiers. No matter what it is, if it's a speed nerf or a speed buff, gun swing speed should be noticed in combat and affected by these modifiers. And that's all. So don't forget to check out Battle Royale with your squad as the wait for conquest still continues. If you're lucky, you might see me there putting in the work. Anyway, that's it, and thanks so much for watching. If you want exclusive update content just like this, make sure to like and subscribe. I'm super close to hitting 85k subs, and let's get there. Thanks again, it's punchin' time.